Gigabyte sent over their P35. It's a 4K 15-inch gaming laptop with a 970M and an i7-6700HQ. Stick around to find out more. Check out our website at TechteamGB.co.uk for more info on both this and many other products, and also up-to-date news on all things tech. Stick around for this awesome video. So to take a look at the outer clamshell, it's a non-brushed aluminium finish, which is actually quite nice, but does mean it's a massive fingerprint magnet and can be quite difficult to clean. Now on the left-hand side, you've got a Kensington lock, Gigabyte Ethernet, 2 USB 3 ports, headphone, microphone jack, and an SD card slot. And on the right-hand side, you've got DC in, a VGA port, HDMI, USB 3.1 Type-C, a USB 3.0 charging port, as well as a mini display port. On the back, you've got 2 ventilation grills, which don't actually get all that hot to touch, even when gaming, which is pretty nice. Now on the front, for some reason, there is a DVD drive, and I've complained about this before, but it does tout on the specs label that this is a swappable storage bay, so if you did want to throw in an extra SSD or hard drive, you can. But as I said at the start, it's got an i7-6700HQ, 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM, 128 gig M.2 SSD, and a 1TB 2.5-inch hard drive. And generally speaking, the kind of experience with it wasn't the best for me personally. I didn't really kind of prefer the keyboard. It was a little bit annoying with sort of double typing and easy sort of key slippage, so if I push one key I might accidentally push another, 3 or 4 depending on how big your fingers are. And the trackpad for me was a little bit annoying using, often right clicked when I wanted it to just normal click, so that's a bit annoying. But as for the screen itself, it's actually pretty cool. Now it's an IPS panel, I believe, so it has great viewing angles, and while it is a 3840 by 2160 panel, you will basically either be running it at 1080p to get decent usage out of it, or you'll be running it at 3840 by 2160, but you'll be running it with 350% scaling, which is incredibly insane and kind of defeats the purpose of having 4K for me on a laptop. Now in terms of temperatures, I was seeing about 78 degrees after a sort of half an hour to an hour of gaming load, which isn't too bad for a laptop, but it is quite hot. In terms of performance, the 970M just isn't capable of running at 4K on even sort of medium to high settings, which is something to take note of. But at 1080p, if you run your games at 1080p, you'll be more than happy with easily 60 FPS on high or even ultra settings, which is actually really nice and means that the laptop is very playable for games and general sort of usage. But if you're running it at 4K, I personally wouldn't recommend gaming on this, as it might be quite difficult. So here's my thoughts and my kind of user experience with the laptop. So I have some mixed opinions on this. I actually quite like the laptop as an overall kind of sum of its parts, but for me the actual parts themselves do kind of have some notes. So first of all, the screen, it doesn't make sense all that much to me. I love the fact that it is 4K, obviously in a kind of tick box, that's really cool kind of way, but because text scaling or scaling in general has to be set to 350%, it means that you're effectively running things, it looks like it's less than 1080p, and while it is more crisp than a 1080p native display, personally, I'd rather have, things that are more, something that's more functional at 1080p rather than having to run, 350% scaling for a slight more bit of crispness. Personally, that's personal opinion. I'd like to see 4K but in a more improved scalable state. Other than that, the keyboard and mouse, or keyboard and trackpad for me, personally the keyboard I didn't entirely get used to well enough. I don't think it just wasn't really for me. It's nice that it has backlighting, although it's not as kind of fancy and flashy as the MSI kind of range. And also I personally preferred the MSI keyboards to this one, just because I ended up kind of double pressing keys quite a lot, and generally my typing experience wasn't all that reliable on this, whereas on other keyboards, personally it was. Also the trackpad, I found the actual click feeling, so if you push down anywhere on the trackpad, it's nice that that is there to be able to click. I ended up right clicking far too many times for it to be, me just being an idiot, and I generally didn't quite like the feel of the click personally, but as I said, that's kind of all my personal opinion. So if you're going to check one of these out, or I'd recommend you check one of these out in person before you go and buy one, just to make sure that you're happy with the mouse and keyboard. Now the I/O is great. I love that there's a USB Type-C port on here. That's really nice that they're kind of moving forward with the times. But what I don't get is why there's a DVD drive in here. Now, I've spoken to many people in the comments who say there's plenty of uses for a DVD drive in a laptop, and you know, things like offline installs if you need to reinstall Windows or something and you don't have a bootable USB and you don't have internet connection and this, and you know, that sort of thing, and ripping DVDs for your car and or CDs for your car and all that sort of stuff. And while I get that those uses are still perfectly valid, I don't personally agree that there should be one in here. Because for the majority of people, or at least the majority of people I've spoken to in the comments, they agree that there is no use for, there's no need to put one in the laptop, especially when it's only a tenner to buy, you know, an external USB one on Amazon, if you can need that thing. So personally, I would rather they use that space for other extra hard drives, which I understand is something that they kind of tout on the sticker inside, but at the same time, I would rather see, you know, use for hard drives, more heatsink space, more battery space, or, you know, a bigger battery, or generally just making the laptop thinner and lighter. That's something I'd prefer to see as opposed to a DVD drive. Feel free to let me know in the comments down below what you think, but that's just my thoughts there. Now, pros and cons, first of all, it's got a really nice amount of power in it, obviously 970, and I believe it's an i5, which was kind of strange because, oh no, it's i7-6700HQ, one of the applications was reporting on i5, but anyway, it's got really nice power to it. The storage solution is quite nice inside, which is always cool, and it actually looks like you can pretty easily upgrade the RAM, which is cool too. But other than that, personally, my user experience wasn't all that great. The keyboard and mouse didn't really work for me, and the fact that you had to scale things to 350% wasn't all that great. It actually didn't get too hot to touch, even though the actual chips themselves did get quite hot at around about 78 and about 80 degrees C, and the laptop wasn't all that loud. It kind of was, but at the same time, I've checked out louder laptops, so that's something to take note of. In terms of scoring, I'm going to give it a 4 for 5 for money. I'd say 5 for performance. Actually, it does pretty damn well here. In functionality, I would say personally, my personal opinion here is going to be a 3. Styling, I'm going to give it a 4 because while it is a very nice laptop, it's a huge fingerprint magnet, and it's going to get a 4 for TechteamGB score. It's a nice laptop. I think I'm going to give it a silver award because there's definitely room for improvement here, at least personally anyway, although it is, you know, it checks all the boxes for very nice things, and does really well at what it does. So yeah, I guess that's kind of it. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. If you don't know, by the way, this video will be on Vessel a week early, so if you're watching this on YouTube, that means there's already next week's YouTube videos on Vessel, so feel free to check those out. And other than that, yeah, check us out on Facebook and Twitter for more videos, giveaways and all that sort of stuff. Subscribe if you haven't already, like or dislike, but let me know what you thought in the comments down below. And yeah, I guess we'll see you all in the next video.